Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we are starting episode 3 of this 5,000 square foot home build. Come along with us as I show you how we're gonna frame the roof where I'm standing right now. Before we can do the roof, the first thing that we have to do is start our ceiling joists. And as you can see right here above where I'm at, they have half of them already done. And for this section of the house, it is all 2x6s, but there are some portions of the house that have 2x8s and 2x10s. As far as over there, there's 2x10s, and then right here, there's 2x6s. Over here's 2x6s, and I think this side has a lot of 2x8s because of the spans. So why 2x6s, 2x8s, or 2x10s, or even 2x12s for ceiling joists? Well, there's a simple answer for that, and it's how big the room is. Traditional lumber can only span a certain distance. So for example, this room is probably 16 foot wide, so you'd probably use a 2x10 joist to hold all of that weight that's going to go on the ceiling from the sheetrock and from all electrical and insulation and whatnot. So doing a 2x10 joist will span this room, hold all of the weight, and if you put a 2x6, you have a nice curve probably going down in the middle from all the weight bearing down on it. So 2x10 is what we're going to do for this room, and other rooms are 2x8s and other rooms are 2x6, and that is why we do what we do. Right here is a simple mock-up of what we're doing on the ceiling joists. The first thing we're going to do is install our joist, which you could say this is our joist right here. And then once we get our joists in, we need to brace the middle, because a lot of times these spans are 16, 18, 20 feet long, and so the joist kind of curves in the middle and is not always perfect just from sitting out in the weather or being out in the sun. Here in Texas, it really makes a lot of this lumber curve. And why is that a problem? Well, when the sheetrockers go to install their sheetrock, you want to make sure that their 4x8 sheets land directly on the center of the joist. So to accommodate that, what we do is we put in a strong back, and that's what we call this 2x4 right here. And this spans across the middle of the joists. Imagine these joists are longer, and this spans across the middle of them, allowing you to push and pull the middle of the joist to where it goes on layout, and then you nail from the top down. And then not only do we do that, we come back with a 2x6 like this, specified by the engineer in the notes on the architectural plans. And what this does is it stiffens the actual strong back and makes it to where the joists are less likely to sag. Because when you nail this to the side of our 2x4 and this 2x6 is here, it makes it to where it's kind of like a T or an L, which makes it harder for it to sag and be able to hold all of the weight of the ceiling. Something that we missed probably in the last episode is a detail about the master bedroom and this little balcony breezeway right here. Once you walk out of the master in this little hallway, you come out into a breezeway which overlooks the staircase, and we'll have a nice handrail right here where I'm standing. And then in the future, hopefully in the next couple of days, we'll have this framed, but you'll be able to walk out onto this balcony right here and see the view of the lake through the two houses in front of me and this beautiful sky scenery of Fort Worth, Texas, able to enjoy the view with a nice cup of coffee and sit down and enjoy your master suite balcony. Now back to our little mock-up that I have right here. Another cool thing to note is sometimes we'll also double up the joists that are on the ceiling. And why do we do that? Well, to answer the question is we want it to be stronger to be able to hold the support of the roof. So when we do our 2x6s that are doubled like this, it allows us to put a leg that goes from the top of that to our roof or any support for the roof, and that is able to bear the weight of the roof and able to go down to the side of the walls and then down that wall, down to the foundation, which ultimately distributes all of the weight of the roof. So that's another detail that we do for our ceiling joists. Sometimes we double them up, sometimes we do triple. A lot of times it's specified by the engineer, or you just kind of wing it on site and just know that the roof needs a support right here, so let's double it up. And then the inspector confirms it by inspecting it. The first bit of the roof is going on right now. We have our first ridge installed up there on top, along with the first couple rafters. And what they're doing is initially they're going to put our temporary leg on the left, as you can see the one over there on the left side right there, and a temporary one on the right behind the guy in the blue up there, Pedro. And what that does is support the ridge where it goes, and then you're able to put your rafters on the side on the left and on the right, and that indicates how high it goes or how low it goes, and those temporary legs just hold it up there, so you're not having to hold 3 pieces of boards trying to nail it at the same time. So first thing you do is put the ridge up, and then they take the rafters on one on each side, put them up, and that tells you where the ridge goes, and then you just kind of fill in the middle, which is what they're doing right now. Here's a detail that a lot of people don't understand. So this right here, this 8 and 12 is an indication of how steep the roof is. What that means is for every 12 inches, it rises 8 inches. So in simple terms, you would call it 8 and 12, or in framing terms, an 8 and 12. So that's the roof that we're doing for this portion right here, 8 and 12 in this portion right here. And then we have some different roofs that we changed as well. This is a 4 and 12 on the back patio, and we had to do a design change when we were framing this because it interfered with the window, and change that from an 8 and 12 to a 6 and 12 for this little wraparound right here. Other details on the front are a 12-12 on this front gable because they want to be nice and grand. They want to be more steep and higher up, so they have a bigger 12 and 12 roof going on right there, along with our dormers on the right and left have 12 and 12 to match this front entry gable. So that's what we're doing for the roof. Super simple as far as design, nothing overly complicated, but it's going to look really grand and really phenomenal because of the steep roof and because of the 8 and 12 and 12-12. Back in episode 1, I showed you guys this engineered roof layout and why it's important, because now we're officially at this phase of the build. Well, the simple way to put it is we know exactly what to cut thanks to the legend over here and all of the color coding. We know that all of the blue is 2x6s, along with how long they are over there and how many of them we had to cut by the quantity. And then the red over here is 2x8s, how long they are. The brown is 2x10s and how long they are. And so it helps us indicate where exactly each piece of lumber goes, and so that we cut the right thing, because when you have a bunch of lumber delivered and you have a bunch of pallets out there in the front, and it's hard to figure out which one to cut. I'm going to show you guys the most important thing when it comes to doing the roof. It starts at 11 o'clock around our job site because we start at 7. But at 11 o'clock, the most important thing shows up, because without this, the roof does not get done. And what it is super simple. All it is, write it down, is a food truck. When they show up with that food, it gives you all the boost you need, con los tacos, los aguas frescas, todo lo que necesitas para acabar el techo. In all reality, the food truck is a vital thing that you need to keep going. It fuels you up, keeps you going. Here in Texas, they're coming around the job site all the time, and so we hit them up, we pay for our stuff that we want to get, and we get fueled up. We don't have to leave. We stay in the sun because that Texas heat is not cool to go from 105 to 70 degrees that's inside of Subway back to 105. If you just stay on the job site, eat your food under the shade, go back to work, and you kind of stay acclimated to the temperature of the outside. So that's why that's really cool. Food trucks are really cool in Texas, and they probably have them where you're at, but we use them all the time, and that's going to help us finish this roof. Another note is the attic access. This is a spot that needs to get framed out for in the ceiling joists for the second floor. It indicates where our attic access is going to go, and it's kind of really tricky. It seems easy, like a lot of people would know where to put it, but this is probably something that we struggle with the most on homes, because a lot of architects, a lot of homeowners don't think about it, and you kind of don't want it to be in a bedroom or a closet, and you don't want it to be in a space where everyone sees it. So majority of times it goes in a hallway, which 9 times out of 10 that hallway is too small, so it's a challenge. But in our case, we're able to have it in this small hallway, and thankfully when it swings down, it misses this doorway and goes through the door into this outside hallway. So it works out perfect in our case, because when you walk up the stairs, you don't see the big bulkiness of the attic access. You actually see a doorway, and then inside the small hallway is the attic access, and it's tucked away and nice and neat up there in the ceiling. When doing your joists, a simple thing that you'll probably run into is where your joist sticks up past your rafter or your roof. And I have here mocked up a rafter on this side and a joist on this side, and as you can see, this would be our plywood for our roof, and coming down, this joist sticks out right here. And so the simplest way to fix that is to measure up 4.5 up right here, up your seat cut, and then go back with the reverse angle of the roof. And so in our case, we're doing a 8 and 12, so the reverse is a 20 pitch, and you would end up with a cut like this up here, or this right here on your joist. It goes up 4.5 inches on the back, and then it goes up at that angle to avoid that top corner of the joist sticking out past the roof, and saves your decker a whole headache, and it saves us a headache from having to go back with the Sawzall and cut it off. And so it's easier to do it on the ground and get it solved when it's on the ground. If you're wondering why a 2x8 for the ridge or a 2x8 for the hip, well, the simplest way to put that is your cut for your roof makes this angle a lot longer than 5.5 inches. So if I was to use a 2x6 ridge, the cut on it would stick down past the bottom, which would not allow you to get a good seat and a good spot to nail. So you switch it over to a 2x8 ridge, and it allows you to nail everything directly to that ridge and get you a good spot where you can seat it nice and tight up against a ridge and nail all the way to the bottom of that ridge cut. Outside of all of the roof details and the ceiling joist details, we have the sheathing going on the exterior as we speak right now. This entire wall is completely sheathed besides the top above me, everything that's 10 foot down and below. But some cool details that we're using on the sheathing is the material. This material is a Huber Zipsystem sheathing. This material is 1/2 inch thick, and this specific plywood sheet is 4 foot wide by 10 foot tall. And why are we using 10 foot tall? Well, because our walls are 10 foot tall and you want it to span from one plate to the next plate, and so that allows us to do that and not do so many joints and less taping, less rooms for error, for it to leak and whatnot. So that leads us to our next thing. How is this waterproof? Well, this material they make has a coating on the outside that is this green right here, and is a specific material that makes it waterproof, and your nail penetrations, as long as they're not too deep, they are waterproof as well. And then for the joints, you have a 3.5 inch wide tape that goes over the joint, and make sure to roll the tape. Don't ever forget to roll the tape. I forgot and got chewed out by someone in the comments, so make sure not to forget to roll your tape. Roll your tape, put it over the joints. It makes it waterproof as soon as you put it on, so if it rains that evening, it is good to go. It's a pressure adhesive, so the longer that it is on there, the more it adheres to the product. That is what we're doing for this wall. Another thing that we're doing on the sheathing is we're adding this plastic down here at the bottom. This is a 10 mil, I think it's 10 mil, but it's pretty much really thick to where you can't put your finger through it. And what this is for all of the brick to have a spot for it to sit on. And not only that, more importantly, if water runs down the wall behind the brick, let's say by some instance there's water that gets behind there, there shouldn't be, but if water got behind the brick, it can run down our sheathing, hit this plastic, and then go out the weep holes there in the bottom of the brick. So that's a detail that we're doing to make sure that there's no water getting back into the home. On top of that, there's an 1.5 inch ledge down there on the bottom, so if water does by some rare instance, it should not get underneath this or behind it. It has an 1.5 inch high ledge that it cannot get back into the home. So that is kind of a belt and suspenders approach where no water can get into the home and it gets nice and out of the back of the brick. A lot of people don't talk about this as well. And when the inspector looks at all the sheathing, what he's going to look for is your nail pattern. Are your nails every 6 inches around the perimeter, and do you have them every 12 inches in the field? Well, the cool thing with the Zipsystem product is they indicate it by the dots. So if you hit the dots, you know you're 12 inches in the field, and around the perimeter, just go roughly 6 inches, and hopefully being in the trades, you know what 6 inches is, and so you can easily do that around the perimeter. This is the flashing tape for all of the joints that Huber makes. It is their Zipsystem flashing tape. This is the 3.5 inch wide roll. They sell it in a bunch of other versions, as well as a stretch tape, which is really cool, but we don't have that product on this job site. However, this is how this works. All you literally have to do is take it, put it over the joint, apply it on there, maybe with a squeegee or your hand. Probably not your hand, because sometimes the wire sticks out from the nails and it's cut you. From experience, I can tell you that hurts and it's not the greatest. Once you do that, come back with the roller as indicated by it saying roll the tape, and it has it in Spanish too, so for all of the Hispanic trades, you're able to easily understand that. Or if you're like me and you know a little bit of Spanish, you can understand it. You can read it in English or Spanish. And then we have a 6 inch roll for all of our windows. It's going to go over on the window seals. We take it, we roll it along this side right here, then we cut the corner, cut the inside corner, fold it over, and that seals this joint from right here from ever having any water get behind it and go into the wall cavity. And then you take a little sliver, a little piece, and go from this corner out, and you tape it around the corners. I have a previous video on that when we first started our channel, and that is how we do all of the waterproofing and the taping for our window seals. I would prefer the stretch tape. This is the product that we have. Either one of them are amazing. Stretch tape is a lot easier, so if you have a preference and you want to be able to spend a little bit more money to have a little bit more convenience, stretch tape would be the way to go. But in our case, we use the 6 inch roll. You could even use a 3.5 inch roll and do 2 passes of it to make sure that you get good adhesion to the plywood and to the 2x6 window seal. So that's how we do that. We're back. It's been 3 weeks since we've been on the job site, but for good reason, because we had to leave for 1 week for inspection for all the trades to come in, and the electrician, the plumber, HVAC guy to do all their work. But we let them do what they needed to do, and then also we had to leave and go do another project, which is the patio, the previous episode that we just uploaded onto YouTube, so you guys have that. But now we're back. My ankle is doing better. If you watched the last video, you know why my ankle is messed up, but it's doing good, and coincidentally I am wearing the same shirt as the previous clip, so it'll look like nothing ever happened. But all of the zip is complete and finished around the entire house. As you can see, the brick ties are also on. Everything is taped and good to go. We already passed our inspection for our nail pattern on the entire home, so that's why everything's taped and good to go. We also have a bunch done as well. Windows are installed. We didn't actually put those in. Another company did, so we don't have to worry about explaining that, but I have a video of us doing windows in the very beginning of our YouTube channel, so go back and find that. But all that's done. Our porch ceilings are going on as we speak, so that is the last thing that's being done on the home, and so we're going to finish that up tomorrow and have our portion of the project complete. And let me show you guys some more stuff that's going on around the house real quick. All right, let's take you guys inside and show y'all what's going on in here, since I've already shown y'all a lot of details of outside, and there's kind of not much out there other than the zip wall and the windows and doors. But I'm gonna take y'all upstairs and show y'all all the cool details that we have for the roof. A lot has gotten done as far as the roof concern. It's actually complete. We already passed our inspection. Unfortunately, we did fail once because we were missing a couple hangers under the staircase, and I think 3 over there in the downstairs office, and a couple little bit of blocking for supports for the porches. But everything's complete. We have all of our collar ties. We have all of our supports for our rafters, for our purlings, our ridge, our valley. We have all of our doubles underneath that. Like this, for example, right here, we have our doubles underneath all of our supports for the roof, and so that takes care of the load and transfers it down, along with all of our hangers, our hurricane ties, and everything that has to do with the roof is fully complete. So let me show you guys some details that we did after that to kind of do some preventative maintenance for the future self or for the future homeowner, like this right here. We installed a lot of blocking around the home for things like the TV mount. So right here, they're going to have a 50-inch TV in their master above their fireplace. And so having blocking like this that we do from the framer makes it easier for the homeowner 2 months from now, 3 months from now, whenever they finish the home, to take that TV mount from Amazon, slap it on the wall, not have to search for a stud or worry about a drywall anchor holding up their $300, $400 TV, and they can easily hit the blocking that we've put in. And so what we also do is tell them to take pictures before they put the drywall to keep them from forgetting where that blocking is. And they'll basically hold the tape measure up, take pictures of it, and they've already done that as well. Over here in the bathroom, we have blocking for all of our vanities in all of the bathrooms, in the kitchen, everywhere in the house where there's going to be cabinetry. We have blocking for that, which is indicated by this point right here. There's no upper cabinet, so there's no blocking up there. We have blocking at 35 inches high so that when the cabinet guy goes to put in all of the cabinets, it's super easy for them to screw into it. The plumber doesn't have to worry about them hitting a pipe. The cabinet guy can easily hit something. Let's say he has a 2-piece cabinet. Obviously this one's a 1-piece cabinet, but if he has 2-piece cabinet and the end of the cabinet dies in the stud bay, he has the blocking behind it to put a screw in that corner, and then also in the other cabinet in the other corner, so that makes it easier for him. We also did a pony wall right here in front of the freestanding tub so they can have a spot for their shampoo, conditioner, body wash. And why we did it in front of the wall and not in the walls, because we want 5.5 inches of continuous batten insulation, and we don't want that niche built into the exterior of the home because you'll have that whole cavity of missing of insulation. So we did it in front of it. We also in the shower did 2 niches over here, one on the bottom, one on the top, for things that they can store inside the shower, as well as over here in the toilet area. We went ahead and did blocking for all of the toilet paper holders and towel racks and all of the things that are needed in a bathroom that need to be mounted to the wall. We put blocking behind to get it ready for future preventative maintenance. Like I said, we continued that throughout the entire home and did that in every bathroom and every part of the home. This is the kids' bathroom. We did all of the blocking for the cabinets. That is complete. We also did a pony wall right here to cap the end of the tub, along with a little cutout for a niche to go right here. So once they put drywall on this side, they can tile it from this side, creating an indent in that little niche. As well, we didn't put it in the exterior wall because we wanted that continuous insulation to help with that heat transfer or that cold transfer, depending on if it's summer or winter. Continuing on into the media room, we did the same exact thing whenever you're watching the Dallas Cowboys here in Texas. Hopefully they win this year. We'll see what happens. We did blocking for the 100-inch TV that is going to go right here. It's massive. It's probably like $1,000 TV. Who knows? They're probably super expensive. Maybe they're cheap nowadays. I haven't looked into it. But the whole premise of it is we got blocking for that mounting bracket that's going to go on the wall, and you don't have to worry about just 2 screws being in the stud holding it up. You can actually put as many as you want because you got all the blocking you need to make that happen and feel comfortable watching the Dallas Cowboys win or maybe lose, so we'll see. All jokes aside, a really cool detail that a lot of people don't know about is this little simple block right here. So this is required for code. This is called a fire blocking, and what it does is it prevents a fire in the case of an event. Let's say say it breaks out in this little cavity down below in this little chase, it keeps that fire contained and slows it down from expanding throughout the home and doesn't allow it to get into this wall cavity and just shoot up the wall. Pretty much it will have to burn through this wall and the drywall and get into this room, and that in essence slows it down and makes the fire not consume the house so quick. So this blocking right here is extremely important and prevents the fire from breaking out really quick, and it's actually code, and it's something to look out for whenever you're building your house. Even if you're in the country and you don't have any codes, make sure to do stuff like this because it could prevent and save your home and keep the whole thing from burning down and just make it just be one room. That is a lot of details that we've covered on the home, and there's a ton that we've went over, but I want to show you guys the balcony, because the balcony is the very last thing that we have left to do outside of the porches, because the porches are really simple. I kind of don't want to show you guys because it's only 4x8 sheets of soffit and it's really simple on how to put it. So what I want to do is make a video for doing this material on this balcony. So in the next episode of this house build is going to be the balcony being done, because we're using a really cool product that is ducks back decking. And what it does is it makes the entire top of this deck completely waterproof and prevents any water from getting down below to the first porch balcony underneath, or the first porch ceiling underneath. And that allows us to have an opportunity to show you guys how we do that product. And so it's a lot of cool details. It's really simple to install, a little expensive, but it could be something that you would love to put on your home, on your balcony where you live. So in the meantime, I'm going to show you guys some B-roll shots of the home, and I'll catch you guys when that is over. That is a wrap to episode 3 of this house project. Come back for episode 4 when we do the ducks back decking on the balcony. But hopefully everything in this video showed you guys what is happening on a job site and helps you understand what goes down when it comes to finishing out the roof and all the other steps for passing inspection. Until the meantime, keep on building.